Hello, please let me see your ticket stubs for the double-edged double bill, where you get two film and/or media discussions for the price of one, which is nothing. Each week, Adam Thomas and Thomas Mariani will come to the table to randomly select the yin and yang of a double feature. One will have two good movies, the other two bad. Both will have to pick a number between 1 and 10 in order to seal their fates for each episode. Let the chaos begin. I am Captain Adam Thomas.
And I am Thomas Mariani. Yarr.
Yeah.
Avast, ye mateys. And look, we see a mermaid off the bow. It's Heather Thomas. Yarr, still with us.
Yo.
Any mermaid story would be improved by just saying, yo, what's up? My name's Ariel, how you doing? I want to be where them people is. But Heather was just here for our Disney episode, and now she's here for our intro, in which, as we are sort of hinting at, we are doing the topic of, in honor of The Meg coming out this week. We're releasing this underwater creature features. So not just sharks, but any sort of underwater creature involved is for the pick and in discussion, in which, at the intro here, of course, we should explain for any new people, we pick between two bad ones and two good ones, and usually we would pick a number between 1 and 10 ourselves to determine which of the two features the other one has will be picked, but Heather is doing that this week, so Heather will pick a number between 1 and 10, and whichever gets closest for one of Adam's picks will be the good movie we discuss, and for me, it'll be the bad pick. So, without further ado, for Adam's two good choices, Heather, pick a number between 1 and 10.
8.
At number 9, I have the Stuart Gordon Dagon.
I like Stuart Gordon, but I have not seen that one.
It's a good one. And at number 2, I had Splash.
Ah, of course, the horrible sea creature Daryl Hannah.
Hey, we didn't say it had to be a horrible sea creature.
That's true.
It's still a goddamn sea creature.
We didn't necessarily have to. But now, Heather, number between 1 and 10 for my bad choices.
This motherfucker.
Let's go 4.
At number 3 is the Jaws ripoff from 1977, Orca, starring Richard Harris.
Yes!
God damn it.
Yes!
Oh, God damn it.
Would you have been any more excited if it had been number 7, which was Piranha 2, The Spawning?
No. No. Isn't that the James Cameron one?
The kind of James Cameron one that he infamously got taken off.
I was going to mess with you and put Humanoids from the Deep in mine, just because it's a bad movie, but I think it's funny. Could you imagine if we would have somehow gotten Humanoids from the Deep and Piranha 2, The Spawning?
Oh, well.
Oh, fuck.
Well, it's an interesting double feature, and we'll get down to discussing that shortly, but before we go, thanks a lot, Heather, for joining us here and sealing our fates for the evening.
No problem.
Now I gotta go back into water, go back in with my thingamabobs. I got 20 of them. Hey. And we'll be right back with a double feature after this.
You want to tell me what's wrong with everybody in this town?
I tell you a secret. No one leaves. People come, but no one leaves.
Why are you trying to kill us? What did we do to you?
I am here. I've been waiting for you.
Come on, motherfucker.
We are children of Dagon. It is your destiny.
I don't have a choice, do I?
And we are back. We have just seen our double feature. We have sailed the seven seas. We've got an interesting header to tackle here, don't we, Adam?
Yeah, it turned out to be a really, really mixed bag of movies.
We live up to that double-edged title this week.
Yeah, big time.
So let's start off with Dagon, which came out October 31st, 2001. It's a Spanish film, though it is directed by an American director, Stuart Gordon, who we should go into a bit. Stuart Gordon is a genre filmmaker, probably best known for his HP Lovecraft adaptations, of which probably the most well-known is Reanimator, which is a classic horror film, one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah, I'd say that's probably easily his biggest film.
Mm-hmm. Probably the main reason, if you know who Jeffrey Combs is, it's because of this man. Mm-hmm. And you can also tell watching this movie that our lead here, Ezra Godin, is somebody who I'm sure the entire time Stuart kept calling Jeffrey, because he really wants him to be Jeffrey Combs.
Oh, yeah, no, dude, this movie was supposed to be made in the early, 90s. And in fact, those parts were written for Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton. That's why her name's Barbara.
Right. Yeah, you can very much tell that. I wouldn't be surprised if he put those glasses on. Just like, put on these glasses and put your hair mopped up like this. Just like, I'm not Jeffrey Stewart. I'll never be Jeffrey. I wish I were. It's pretty easy to tell that this kind of fits in with. He's done a few other H.P. Lovecraft adaptations. There's also From Beyond, which is great.
Castle Freak.
Castle Freak. Castle Freak's a movie I really want to put on the show, but I don't know quite where, because it's both incredibly awful and kind of amazing because...
Yeah, no, I agree. We're going to worm it in somewhere.
Oh, we will.
We'll figure it out.
It's a movie I want to talk about extensively.
And then, didn't he do a Masters of Horror?
Yes, after this, he did a H.P. Lovecraft adaptation for the Masters of Horror TV show. Stuart Gordon is somebody who I appreciate, though I haven't seen all of his filmography, and this is the first time I'd ever seen Dagon myself. Obviously, you were more familiar with this film, Adam?
Yes, absolutely. About 15 years ago, I was buying anything I could get my hands on DVD. I just fell down the wormhole because I bought Reanimator, then I bought From Beyond, and then I got Castle Freak, and then Dagon was the logical next choice. And I watched it, and I'm like, oh, man. You know what it was, too? Because I was a huge fan of the Resident Evil 4, the video game. There's a lot of that in this movie. I could tell that it was definitely influenced.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can tell there's a bit of a Resident Evil thing. Obviously, to be fair, H.P. Lovecraft in general definitely had influence on a lot of those sort of horror survivalist games. A lot like Silent Hill definitely has huge inspiration from H.P. Lovecraft. The fogginess. H.P. Lovecraft is one of the seminal horror authors, and especially American horror authors. And the story, which it's based on, interestingly enough, there is a story called Dagon that he wrote that has little to nothing to do with this.
Literally nothing, just the name.
Yeah, and this is more based on The Shadow of Innsmouth, which is probably the most famous sort of archetypal H.P. Lovecraft story in terms of people arrive in this town that's off of a port city, and there's mysterious sort of amphibious creatures that are all around. It's very much his style. It's H.P. Lovecraft on brand.
Yes.
What that particular story is. This is an interesting adaptation of it for sure, a bit more Spanish in nature, which I think mainly came from just the production necessity. Stuart Gordon got the funding from Spain. It kind of feels like almost an early, super low-budget version of a Guillermo del Toro movie.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with that. And as you could tell, he was more than likely working with a full Spanish crew, Spanish editors, and there's just that different flavor to it. It's definitely a Stuart Gordon movie, but there's just that little twist that makes it just odd with the way the lines are read, the shots, everything. It's just a little different, and I think that adds to it quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Especially when we do actually get into the town. Before, it's a bit choppy.
What is the town? In Boca? Isn't that it?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
the whole opening bit was just we're rich off our site, was it .com, I believe is what
yeah.
Man, we love .com, AOL keyword dot. And also the fact that she throws his fucking laptop into the ocean. Such a dick.
No. The reason you're on this fucking yacht is because of that laptop.
Exactly. And she's you need to be more of a free spirit. It's just but that's our livelihood. I didn't back up the discs. Ugh, dick move.
Yeah, real dick move.
Mm-hmm. But it adds sort of, I agree, this sort of surreal nature to it, where that start, you're already kind of like, this is a bit unsettling. Of course, we have the dream sequence as well, which I have to give credit to this actress. Yeah, she has this sort of ethereal charm to her that makes her instantly sort of inviting but still creepy. She's got those, what I like to call Amanda Seyfried eyes. They're
Yes!
Like, too big to be human, but they're still enchanting. Yeah.
They look like those fucking Christoph Waltz paintings from that movie.
Oh, Big Eyes?
Yeah, Big Eyes.
Big Eyes references, y'all.
Yeah,
For all my Big Eyes fans out there.
Yeah. Really shitty Tim Burton movies. What? But no, yeah, dude. And she's so alluring, and you just, like, she's seductive instantly.
Mm-hmm.
But
Right,
so scary. Like,
Right.
it's so creepy.
We're immediately unsettled by that dream sequence, and then there's a sort of weird artificialness of, like, this sort of actual setup of our characters on this yacht and everything feels kind of artificial, almost more like it's the start of, like, an 80s slasher movie that takes place on a boat.
Definitely.
And then we get to the Innsmouth angle of it, and it gets so much more brutal, and it gets so much more confusing. I love how this movie uses especially mob mentality. You can tell that they're on such a low budget, but Gordon knows how to use his extras very well. Particularly the whole sequence where after he's explored through this empty hotel, he looks out on the balcony and people spot him. That's a great shot. I love that shot, where it just one points up and they start just like chanting incoherently. And even with the actual use of sort of the fishy makeup, it's limited, obviously, and there are points where it shows the straining of the budget. But at the same time, you still get the whole uncanny valley thing of, like, these people aren't quite human. And
like the hotel clerk especially.
Yes, that's a great example. Or the priest who shows up, where it's like they're all clammy, they're all just very pale and, like, wasting away. And it's like you're either people who have never seen the sun or fish who have been at the bottom of the ocean for centuries.
Right, they're all a bunch of blobfish.
Yes. Look up the blobfish. It's one of the ugliest creatures in
ever.
IRL. It's amazing. And you can also tell even the cheaper practical effects still are interesting, like when we get the sort of tentacles as legs with our enchantress creature. Terrifying. Very unsettling to watch.
But when they transition to CG, you're like,
yeah. Especially, it's hard because, like, the whole point of HP Lovecraft is describing sort of the unimaginable. It's he gives you some vague idea of what this horrible creature is, but the whole point is that you can't sort of fathom because of the cosmic horror of it. It's so unnatural to human eyes. You can't really pin down what it is. They kind of try to with especially the climax, and that falls flat. Like a fish ashore, as it were.
You know, I'm not that mad at the climax. I actually kind of liked the climax for the most part.
No, I'm not talking about the overall climax. I'm just talking about when you actually see the creature that pops out. Like, they build up so much great mystery.
Oh, yeah, that was a waste. Yeah, I agree. That was such a waste. They didn't need that big, just really bad CGI fest. That was completely 100% unnecessary.
You could have even just had, like, a CG tentacle, and I would have been fine with it. That's all you needed. But they try and sort of have, like, a Cthulhu-style creature pop up, and it's like, man, you didn't need that, Stuart. But no, a lot of the build-up, I think, is really fascinating, especially, like we said, the more fascinating stuff is when they use sort of more limited makeup effects and just have it more be about the endless sort of crowd that's surrounding these people. Like, I also love the one guy we get who, there might have been somebody who was, like, an amputee, who's just, like, crawling around on his hands that are all, like, tentacly.
Yeah, really creepy.
Yes.
I agree. I liked that part to where in the crowd somebody would either not have a limb or one fucked up limb, or they look normal but have like the sack over their head, so you couldn't really see what was wrong. Everybody was wet and slimy. They all had the same like deep, gravelly, creepy voice. I honestly still find the movie unsettling at certain parts.
Yes, I think a big part of that also, I will say, the human characters can be a bit hit or miss, but the MVP is for sure Francisco Rabal.
Oh my god, he's so good.
Who he was apparently a very prolific Spanish actor who I'm not really aware of.
No, never seen him before this.
He's amazing in this movie. Apparently he died shortly before production finished up, but he's so compelling as sort of the one human in this entire town who's a drunk, and that's why they don't pick on him, because he's sort of like the town drunk. And it's such a great, tragic, but funny character that you really feel for, especially when he reveals this whole backstory that's really wonderful to see, just how sort of people in this sort of economically crumbling town find solace in what seems to be this, sea god that they're worshiping and sacrificing to. I love how it builds the mythology of all that in just a short amount of time.
Oh yeah, me too. And then ultimately, what ends up happening to him is so brutal, and it's almost hard to watch. Like, I can understand why when this movie came out, there was a lot of people who mentioned that scene, especially in the horror circle, or the skinning or whatever, if we wanted to get into it. But they'd be like, "Oh, it's so brutal." Now, I mean, you've seen it way worse, but it's still really, really effective. And just in your face, and like you said, you really like him too as a character and as an actor. He steals the movie in every scene he's in, and then, I mean, he just gets butchered, and it's awful.
Yeah, it's pretty harsh, but it also works because, like, he has so much character in his face. I love the scar on his face, and I love sort of that drunken legend, like, I have been here for so long and I know how this town works. He almost kind of reminds me of whenever Guillermo del Toro appears on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia as the Pappy McPoyle.
Yeah, Pappy McPoyle.
It's kind of that, but with actual, like, sincere emotional arc as opposed to crazy old man. But what do you think about some of the other human characters, like our lead, Ezra? How do you think he sort of holds up as our Jeffrey Combs stand-in?
He got on my nerves, to be honest with you. I mean, he's just so whiny, and I don't think that they gave him enough of an arc. Like, he goes from being a .com millionaire nerd to basically whining the whole rest of the movie. Like, completely 100%. He just really got under my skin, man. I don't know. To me, he's the one major part of this movie that I'm like, oh, fuck.
I very much agree. I don't think it's as much his fault as much as it's just when you're writing for, like, a Jeffrey Combs.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Combs is just this other animal, where I think he plays characters that are often despicable. Like, Herbert West is a great example of, like, Herbert West is a piece of shit, but he's so fascinating because he has such conviction.
His character in The Frighteners, I mean, you love him, you love to watch him, you love to see but he's just such a despicable, just asshole.
But there's that conviction there that makes you at least fascinated to keep watching him. This character doesn't quite have that, and I feel like Jeffrey Combs would have probably added something more to it if he had got into this role. It's a hard kind of character to grasp, and few people can be Jeffrey goddamn Combs.
Right, and I agree with you. I think that's the problem. I think the part was written for Jeffrey Combs, and it sat in developmental hell for so long, and then when they got it, he was too old for the part. But it feels like they didn't change the character at all for a new actor. So it's another actor trying to be Jeffrey Combs, and it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, the most interesting, sort of our main sort of characters is I forgot which is the one who is the wife of the guy who got skinned and is missing her leg.
Oh my god, I forgot her name.
Is that Vicky? Is that character's name?
Yeah, that might be. Yeah. That's Vicky.
Yeah. Bridget Beaufort, I think, is her. Yeah, she's the most compelling of the sort of our main characters that we got.
I can agree with that.
Her, and even though, like, she starts off, we only see her, like, get her leg chopped off, off-screen kind of thing, and then we cut back to her. But you believe that she's just gone through such a horrible nightmare. She's got PTSD all over. And the fact that she, like, stabs herself, like, this is the only way to get out of this. That is such a great use of gore for this movie that doesn't have a lot of it. But when they utilize it for stuff like this, it, like, pinpoint.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree with you. The movie's more makeup effects and dread. There's not a lot of gore, but other than that scene and really the
skinning scene.
The skinning scene, which is just, oh my god. That's one of those scenes that just burned into my brain when I first saw it. Mm-hmm. very effective. But I just think the movie's effective all the way around, other than Ezra Good.
You know what? I'll say this: the set design is impeccable, of just like a town in decay, and
Oh,
just
it looks
waterlogged.
exactly like a fishing shanty town. I mean, it just looks run down. People don't give a shit about it anymore because they're so, self-involved with their worship of, Dagon or whatever the hell, the giant creature thing. And man, the underwater photography in this movie is quite well done, in my opinion.
No, I agree with that. Yeah, it sort of has that kind of Creature from the Black Lagoon style mystery to it, where it really does feel like you're sort of stepping down into the depths of this completely different world. Even when we have like the dream sequences, or when we have like the actual sort of moments of going down under the water. Stuart Gordon knew that like that's something you had to get right for this water-based HP Lovecraft story, and he did it very well. It really does. It's like I said, Stuart Gordon does such a great job of utilizing very low budgets and making something really interesting out of it. I'd also recommend, in a similar vein to this, his last film that he's done as of yet, Stuck.
Oh, with oh god, what's her name?
Mina Savari.
Yeah, and Stephen Ray.
I recently saw that.
Good movie.
That's a very underrated gem of a movie. That's not really a horror movie, but it's got great use of gore. Horrific, awful.
She is such a piece of shit. Man.
Oh my god, it's so good. I want to talk about Stuck at some point. Great movie. Anyway, but no, with Dagon, it's definitely a thing of like Stuart Gordon is a guy who comes from theater. And I think you can kind of tell that in some of his earlier movies, like Reanimator, as great a movie as it is, does definitely feel stagey, but in a good way, in terms of, like, he really focuses on character and performance, and utilizing limited amounts of, like, effects work when he can. And obviously he's gone a bit more into that vein with stuff like From Beyond, or his great Charles Band sci-fi movie, Robot Jocks.
I fucking love Robot Jocks.
It's Pacific Rim before Pacific Rim ever happened.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Robot Jocks is amazing. It's so bad, but it's so awesome.
Oh my god, yes.
It's just pure 80s machismo.
And it came out in 1990. It's like the last throes of that. Just gasping out from the 80s, for sure.
So kick-ass.
Is there anything we have forgotten about Dagon?
One thing that, I mean, we already talked about the underwater scenes, but once, Ezra Good realizes what he is, after he's burned himself and everybody else, I just thought that was so well done when the gills appeared in his ribcage. Like the skin melted away and he had the gills. I just thought it was so cool. But another thing, too, that I had to actually look into to understand it, is the one... when he's in the whole room at the end, the sacrificial room or whatever, and the one with the really bad, fucked up face is talking to him and blah, blah. Apparently that's supposed to be his father.
No, yeah, they were kind of explaining that. They just like, it's been so long since I've seen you, my boy.
I don't know why I missed that. I missed that the first time I saw it.
Well, and also the fact that the Macarena Gomez character, our enchantress, is his sister, and is so dead set on just like, I want to fuck you so bad, bro.
Oh yeah, they're gonna fuck.
Like she really wants it, and that's why he's just like, I'm out. I'm just gonna gas myself. I don't want no part of this shit.
I'm checking the fuck out of this. Yeah, I don't blame him at all. Goddamn men with gills, and my sister wants to fuck me. I'm good to go.
This sister who I had a wet dream about at the start of this movie wants to fuck me. This is too far gone, guys. I'm beyond saving. And I really like how that is really the struggle between him and the Barbara character. Is not a whole thing of trying to save, but really that she really wants him to kill her because of what she's been through. A lot of credit to Raquel Moreno as Barbara. She sells just being dead inside after she comes back up out of the water. She's just gone as a person.
And can I say, too, and not to be objective, but she is so beautiful, that actress. I mean, she is absolutely gorgeous, and I've never seen her in anything else. And she's actually pretty good in this, too. The language is kind of an issue for her, you can tell.
Yes.
But she's fantastic.
I kind of wish she was our main character instead of Ezra. I really do, because I agree she's a much more engaging presence, and I think she has the more fucked up thing to worry about. Just like, oh, I'm gonna board this horrible half sea creature monster that's gonna be like the ruler of Earth now. It's
right.
It's a lot more of a compelling story there, and a lot of bravery in terms of not only being nude for that sacrificial scene, but the context of it, and being like this, sort of sacrificial creature, and having all this blood all over her, and hanging the way that she does. It's gotta be brutal, especially just on like a psychological level, even while acting it, and that's a lot of dedication.
Pretty good score too.
I'll agree with that as well. Pretty good score, and I will say it's interesting. This is also, along with Stuart Gordon, this being his fourth HP Lovecraft adaptation, it is also one of many that he has had the screenwriter Dennis Paoli write the script, because he also wrote all the previous HP Lovecraft ones he did. And do you see any like notable similarities beyond sort of like the Jeffrey Combs type that we get with our main character?
Not really. I think this is completely different from the other ones. I Reanimator and From Beyond, I could pick up, quite a few similarities. Castle Freak even a little bit, probably just because of Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton. But other than the Ezra Gooden character, to me, this is like a standalone.
Well, I would say, yeah, beyond the Ezra character, I don't quite see that, but I will say this is something more, I guess, to why it would be close to like a Stuart Gordon movie, is the sort of use of crowds when they do sort of that mob mentality that kind of takes place. I think that reminded me a lot of sort of whenever we have the corpses in Reanimator rise up and kind of crowd around, or even certain bits of the kind of weird mythology that's going on, and subverting that with sort of a natural character that is from our world, sort of an audience surrogate. I kind of see that through, all these H.P. Lovecraft adaptations that he's done. But I would definitely agree that this one stands a bit more apart, probably because it is more faithful, because Reanimator and From Beyond are more taking ideas from these H.P. Lovecraft short stories and expounding upon them in Stuart Gordon fashion, versus this feels the most sort of faithful. Would you agree on that?
Oh, 100%. From Beyond and Reanimator, other than, certain names, literally have nothing to do with the source material for the most part.
I'm assuming Castle Freak is also the same.
Oh, yeah. You assume 100% correctly.
Seriously, guys, we're going to talk about Castle Freak at some point.
I think we kind of have to.
Oh,
maybe we should do like a full moon episode.
Oh, yeah, we could. Charles Bands. There's a lot to talk about there. We got a Puppet Master movie coming out, guys.
There you go.
It's likely to happen.
It's in the books.
But let's before we steer too much more off track, let's have our final thoughts about Dagon, Adam.
Well, I'm a pretty big Lovecraft fan. I mean, I'm not to the point where some people are, but I really do like Lovecraft stuff. I find it so scary. To me, there's nothing scarier than the deep ocean. A, because I'm a little bit claustrophobic, and B, just because what the fuck is down there. But it's just, this movie, there's everything in it for horror fans, I think. It's scary. When there's gore, it's really well done. There's very good acting for the most part. There's just, it's spooky, it's unnerving, it's creepy, it's slimy. But it's unlike any other movie, especially that Stuart Gordon's ever done. So if you're going Lovecraft movies, I mean, like I said, this is in my top 3. It's my number 2, preceded only by In the Mouth of Madness, which isn't even a Lovecraft movie, but I just think that's the perfect Lovecraft movie. But man, if you have any interest in Lovecraft or good horror movies or just creepy, dark fantasy, then I think you kind of got to see this movie. I think this is one of the movies that's just still undiscovered for the most part. I can't believe this hasn't even gotten even close to like a Scream Factory release. I don't know if it's something with the rights because it was a Spanish film or whatever, but they can put The Exorcist 2 out, but they can't put fucking Dagon out. I just think this is one that needs to be seen.
Well, yeah, and this being my first time watching it, I agree that it's an interesting little gem of a movie. I don't think I'm quite on the same train as you on it, but at the same time, I do appreciate it. I like what it does with sort of the more traditional Lovecraftian style. There's a lot of good performances in there, great makeup effects, as we mentioned, and I think it really does punctuate things with a great ending. I think the ending really just sells the sort of hopelessness and endlessness and the fact that you're a small fish in an ever-looming giant black abyss of a pond. And I think it accomplishes that pretty well. Speaking of things that are black, large abysses, we have our second film, Orca.
The ancient Romans called him Orca or Canis, Latin for bringer of death. He is without challenge the most powerful animal on the globe, the killer whale. Orca's intelligence may be even superior to man's. They remain loyal to one mate for life. As parents, they are exemplary, better than many human beings. And like human beings, they have a profound instinct for vengeance. An innocent creature is destroyed by an act of human cruelty, and the ultimate battle of man against nature begins. Dino De Laurentiis presents Orca, a fight to the death between the two most dangerous animals on Earth. What in hell are you? Man and Orca.
Oh, man.
So, Orca is a film that came out in the wake of Jaws. The year is 1977. It's July 22nd, 1977. Everybody's trying to jump on that Jaws train, and this is one of the early imitators, as you might be able to tell by the fact that our opening involves characters nearly being killed by a shark, and then an orca whale comes in and punks that shark the hell out. Because that's how awesome an orca whale is, I guess, at killing a shark.
I mean, what? This fucking movie, man. God damn. How many times did you need to see the same scene of the orca jumping out of the water?
Oh, as many times as I need to see that orca crying with that goddamn close-up of the eye. That's my favorite thing about how terrible this movie is.
That's my favorite thing, too. And then when it fucking, screenshotted Richard Harris into its eye, it's like, bing, and then it froze. I'm like, this is fucking outrageous.
So, basic plot synopsis of Orca is simply, Richard Harris plays this guy who's hunting big fish, and he's trying to hunt sharks at one point earlier in the movie, and then an orca whale shows up, and he's like, oh, I should hunt that. I don't know much about orca whales because it's 1977, and I'm not going to listen to Charlotte Rampling go on and on and on and on and on about this type of whale. And so he still just is like, but I need to get it because people pay money for it. And he tries to get this specific orca who saved his buddy from getting killed by a shark. Mm-hmm. Dick move. It's one of many that Richard Harris does in this movie, yet he's our kind of hero. We'll talk about that in a second. Yeah. But he ends up harpooning in a school of orcas, this one orca who he thinks is that same one. But it turns out not only is it not that orca, but it is that orca's mate. And she is pregnant. And he ends up causing her to miscarry by literally having...
onto the deck of the boat.
Yep. A whale fetus just flops on there. And that's the reason I wanted to cover this movie, because I remember as a child, I was flipping through channels back when channel surfing was still a thing, kids. We had this thing called cable, and we went through trying to find something to watch. And I remember distinctly seeing this scene of the orca baby flopping out of the whale, and being confused and terrified and not knowing what it was until... like at least a decade later, I found it was part of Orca. And so after that point, I always had in the back of my head, maybe I should watch Orca, because I remember that scene very well.
So is this the first time you've watched it?
In full, yes.
Yeah, this me too.
But
yeah, me too.
And it's one that I remember hearing about more as sort of like a terrible movie, but it's sort of gone off into sort of the back of people's memories. It's not one that gets talked about often anymore. It's kind of gotten forgotten by time. And... there's a reason because
yeah, 100%.
it's a very cheap movie. It basically kind of feels like because after this point where the female whale is killed, it becomes sort of
Let's not forget, the female whale tries to kill itself first.
Yes, that's right, by going into the propellers of the boat.
And somebody later says, it's trying to kill itself. It's like, what the fuck?
How do you know? Whale biologist, I guess.
Whale biologist, I know everything.
Yeah, from there, the Orca's kind of our hero. It's kind of like Moby Dick, but it's the whale is our Captain Ahab, who's after this guy, basically. But also, the movie kind of tries to make Richard Harris, if not, the most sympathetic character, a compelling sort of character who's like, I gotta kill that whale. They're trying to have two Ahabs for the price of one, and they don't get quite there.
It fails. There was at no point I was behind Richard Harris in this movie.
Oh no, he's so awful, and also so dumb and doing just stupid thing after stupid thing. And he's such one of the worst sort of protagonists of a movie, especially when it tries to get you on and say, well, the whale's going after the dock, town that he lives at.
Yeah.
And you should, get behind him because he's trying to save all these other people. But all these other people are either non-characters like Charlotte Rampling, who's just like, I'm here to give exposition about whales. Did you know?
Chief from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yes, Will Sampson, also there as sort of just standard, stereotypical Native American. It's just like, I know the creatures, and the creatures you've messed with nature.
My people have legends of these creatures. Oh, get the fuck out of here.
I'm waiting for him to say... He's almost like the proto-version of Ken Watanabe's character from that Godzilla 2014 movie.
Yes.
I was just waiting for him. I wish he would survive just so he could get to the iceberg battle at the end and say, let them fight. Because that's what literally happens with this orca. It's so garbage. And
that's
it's a movie...
my favorite line, and my favorite little exposition in the whole movie is when Charlotte Rampling's talking to Richard Harris. And she's like, you know why the whale destroyed all the other boats but yours, don't you? And he's like, no, I'd like to figure that out myself. Because he wants you on the open sea for a fight. Like, what the fuck?
It's like Clubber Lang, I guess, in Rocky 3, just like, hey, woman, hey! You don't want to mess with me.
I'm gonna hurt you.
What do you predict, Orca? My prediction: pain. It's so ridiculous, and especially when they try to give this Orca sort of this pathos, where obviously, you want to be on the Orca side in theory, of course, because oh man, his wife died and his kid was miscarried, and they try and have so much sympathy with there's this terrible scene that they try and make. So,
where he's pushing the corpse?
Yes, the funeral for his...
It lasts forever, too.
Oh, and it's the Ennio Morricone score, which we haven't mentioned. He did the score. Is so trying to treat this so serious. It's like, this is tragic. This is awful. Can you believe what man's hubris has done? And it's like, this is goofy as fuck.
It's so stupid.
It's the penguin funeral scene from Batman Returns, but you're treating it 100% seriously. There's no Michael Keaton looking like, what the fuck?
And with worse practical effects.
Worse. So much worse. Because, obviously, this came out in the wake of Jaws, and the great thing about Jaws is it was the sort of one of the great examples of necessity is the mother of invention, because the shark didn't work, so you don't use the shark a lot, and that's perfect. You use it when you need to.
Yeah, less is more.
This movie wants to show off the orca, and is so proud of it. It's just like, look at this fucking orca just going onto shore.
It's so much stock footage, where the orca is clearly in a perfectly chlorinated tank, swimming around, and then it'll show a nightscape ocean scene. You're like, wait a second. That fucking thing was bathed in sunlight and beautiful green water. What the hell is going on?
And then when you have the robotic animatronic whale, it's so bad.
It's a completely different color. It's gray. Because they really do try to show the fin that got wounded with the hole in it. So you're like, oh, yep, that's him. But then, when it is that whale, and it's actual footage of the whale, there's no wound there. You don't see it at all. And fucking Bo Derek's leg.
This is the debut of Bo Derek, who was sort of a sex symbol of the late 70s through the early 80s especially. She shows how much range she has as an actress in this one. She's stuck all the time, in bed or sitting down because she has the broken leg. And so it's just we're not even going to utilize, no offense, apologies, but what Bo Derek was known for, her beauty, her... the look of her as this model turned actress, And just like, oh no, she's sitting around, chilling.
I mean, nah, dude. The worst actor in this movie was probably his number one or whatever. The dude who was with Bo Derek. I can't remember his name. You know what I'm talking about, though.
Yeah, Peter Hooton. Yes.
Oh God, was he terrible?
Yeah, the two of them are, because they're sort of our young love couple that we're supposed to be maybe the most invested in, because they actually feel like the innocence of the crew. No, you don't give a shit. They're very plain, uninteresting characters, like this whole group is. It's just like, because what worked about Jaws was that, I'm sorry to keep comparing to Jaws, but this movie keeps wanting to fucking
It's 100%. Yeah, no, it's a ripoff. I mean,
no, it is a ripoff, but what worked about Jaws was that you had, one, the town of Amity, which is a great, grounded harbor town that feels realistic. And then you have sort of these three men who both hate each other, but at the same time grow to be fascinated by each other on this boat, who are three very different people. And you grow to be invested... Yes, but you grow to be invested in their interaction. Versus here, you don't give a single fuck. So then when the whale attacks, you're not even rooting for the whale to kill them, because they're not interesting enough to be rooted for as, like, to die.
Like when Robert Carradine got killed, I was like, yeah, all right. Like, I didn't give a shit.
And how many deaths are just like the bad orca animatronic gulps up the same dummy that they throw into its mouth. It looks like the exact same dummy.
Richard Harris fucking riding the tail at the end. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
And also the anticlimax of the way he dies, of just like he's on one end,
it just gets slammed to an iceberg.
Yeah, and then he just like gets catapulted up, just like, ooh, boom. So
and let's not forget the last fucking 25 minutes of this movie is a whale slowly swimming and a boat slowly following.
So, such an engaging climax. You're so
man.
What's gonna happen?
The biggest one is when the guy shining the flashlight. Oh, iceberg! You're like, oh, something's happening. Like, who gives a fuck? Oh.
Is there anything about this that works?
Richard Harris's fucking fisherman coat was pretty cool.
That's
true. His comb over.
You know, I'll say I don't mind Ennio Morricone's score overall, but it ends
it's okay, but
I'll say this: the song at the end.
Oh my god!
One of like the worst movie songs I've ever heard, and it's also another clear thing of like this is coming off the sort of decade-long attempt at kind of doing like the Poseidon Adventure morning after theme, theme for your big disaster or monster movie or whatever, and it's such a terrible, like, it feels like the singer is just coming up with the lyrics as she's singing the lyrics, like line by line. The ending of your movie where it's just like the whale is going off to, I assume, die. I believe that's what he's doing.
I think like it's going to get trapped by the ice or something. That's what I think is happening.
Right, they want to have the sort of Logan ending for their hero of the Orca. I'm just like, oh man, he's going out. He doesn't have anything left to live for.
That final song was so jarring. You know what it reminded me of? You've seen, I would imagine, the original My Bloody Valentine?
Yes.
The last song in that movie, do you remember?
I don't remember the last
It's
song.
like an Irish hymn, all of a sudden. Down here in Hattaga's mine. You're like, what the fuck? Where is this coming from? This is exactly what this was for me. I'm like, wait a minute. First of all, the fucking POV shots for behind the whale's fin.
Oh, God.
So bad.
So many bad POV shots in this movie, too, of the Orca.
It's so bad. And like I said, it's every time the whale did something, like for some reason started a gas fire that blew up a factory in that town.
Oh, yeah, he blows up a power plant. I forgot about that.
It does the flip out of the water. And like I said, it's the same flip over and over. Even in the beginning, they're showing two of them flip out of the water, which I imagine would be the main orca and its mate. Mm-hmm. And it's just the same whale, just the image is flipped. And jumping out at the same time because you watch the splash, it's the same everything. I'm like, this is fucking... I knew within 5 minutes, I'm like, oh no. But there's some funny stuff in this movie, but it's really like spaced out between just pure boredom.
And it's also a short movie. It's only about 88 minutes long. It's a fairly short.
It doesn't feel like that, though.
Nope. No, it doesn't.
It feels like 2 hours.
No, it easily feels... It's very slow. It's very ponderous. It's also a movie that's clearly, like... I'm not sure about the history of human knowledge of orca whales, but it feels like whales were just, like, more of a hot-button thing at this point. Maybe this was right around the time SeaWorld started. So it sort of seems like there's... this.
She even had the clips in her little videos of the whales in the tanks, and she was talking about when they're in captivity and...
Right, it feels like there was an orca craze of some sort, and it feels like it's trying to also hop on that along with Jaws. But it feels... I'm no whale biologist myself. Charlotte Rampling can correct us if she wants to. But
you're about as qualified, I would say.
Maybe. I don't have those piercing eyes, though. That's what works in this movie, is her piercing eyes.
Absolutely.
She has gorgeous piercing eyes that just go through you as you boringly sit there and watch her just exposit bullshit.
Yeah, characters that you don't give a shit about the whole movie.
Yeah, it definitely feels like she might not be... It might be dated biology, particularly. We're just like, look, and the whale fetus has hands just like a human. Like, I don't know if that...
I don't know that happens.
No, I'm not sure. Like,
I'm not
fact
sure.
Check. Citation needed. Wikipedia. Can we confirm
I don't know
this
that
is
whale
true still?
fetuses have human hands.
I think our ultrasound technology might have improved over the past 40 years, and maybe we've proven that that's wrong.
Yeah. And if they do, then you need to go talk to a bunch of whale fishermen. Find out what the hell they're doing on their off time.
So, what else is there to say about Orca, really?
I don't know that there's anything else to say, except that I know if I lived in a town, and they're like, this orca's threatening our entire town, I'd be like, fuck that thing. What is it going to do? It's not going to come on land and do anything.
I know,
Who
just
gives
move
a
100 feet inland.
You don't even have to. You literally don't even have to.
Unless you're like Richard Harris and you live like literally right above a dock.
And I love the part where he's setting up the scarecrow.
Okay.
It's like, like I said, my original favorite line, but it's not going to come to you, blah, blah. The thing's out there the entire time. It's right there. You can see its goddamn fin out of the water. Just fucking firebomb the goddamn thing. If it's really that much of a problem. Get a couple of them good old boys down there with shotguns and just blast into the water. I guarantee you'll take care of that damn thing.
It's such a master of stealth, we can't possibly track it. It's right there!
Yeah.
On the...
We have no idea where it is.
You conniving bastard, where could you be?
Damn it. Giant fin is sticking out of the fucking water.
And I'll also say, like, Richard Harris, who interestingly has said later to this that he regrets working on this because he could have been working on the Ingmar Bergman film Serpent's Egg.
I don't really like either of the movies, but I think Richard Harris did all right for himself, man.
I don't know. I would have rather worked with Ingmar Bergman than worked on this fucking movie, probably.
Yeah, no.
Being around Ingmar Bergman would have been more interesting than doing this. In this movie, like, he's at least... intermittently, he's either trying or not giving a shit. He's either giving 100% or 0%. There's no real middle ground, so there'll be points where it looks like he's just kind of sitting there not caring a single iota. Or he's really putting his all into something so terrible. Like, that's probably the most funny bad stuff to me in the movie, is whenever he does, like, his, like, especially the bit where after the orca's destroyed his house, and he's just like... You want to kill me? Is that what you want to do? Well, I'll get you. Come at me. Bring it on.
You vengeful bastard.
He's going like all Shakespearean. It's like, calm down. It's an animatronic whale.
I got a question for you. What's your favorite Richard Harris performance?
Admittingly, I'm not as overly familiar with his filmography. I'll say no offense, he's my least favorite Dumbledore. Michael Gambon all the way. But I really like him in Unforgiven.
Yeah. I like him in Count of Monte Cristo with Jim Caviezel.
I've not seen that one.
Oh, back pocket. And he's also good in Gladiator as Marcus Aurelius.
Oh, yeah, he is good in Gladiator, yes. I do also like him in that. Not a big fan of Gladiator, though.
I was when I was younger. And There's still parts of it I really like, but Joaquin Phoenix is so over the top in that fucking movie.
See, I like him a lot more than bland-ass Russell Crowe. I'm not big on Russell Crowe in general, and not that particular role either. But that's a different story, because we were talking about Orca. So let's do our final thoughts on Orca, the killer whale. By the way, that's the whole title, is Orca, the killer whale.
The killer whale. You know, why don't you start off with your final thoughts?
Well, tables have turned. This movie's trash. It's really terrible. It's kind of, like I said, lost sort of a spot in people's memory as a bad movie, but I think it deserves to be sort of put back on the spotlight as a terrible, awful, maybe, dare I say, one of the worst films ever made. I think mainly because it has so much money, it has a lot of talent, it is definitely trying to ape the Jaws style, and it comes off as just an egg on the face for everybody involved. It is a disaster. It's a pretty garbage fire of a movie that, if you're ever going to watch it, I would say it's not really funny bad enough to be consistently engaging on that level, but I could see maybe someone watching it like I did in just shock and disbelief, just like, every wrong decision's being made. And I can't believe no one stopped to say, let's not do it this way. Let's not have this happen. Let's change something. No one apparently did. And, yeah, just a single whale tear coming out of my eye. For sure. What about you, Adam?
I second quite a bit of that. Where I was watching and I'm going, why did nobody take a second and be like, wait, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? This should be changed. The last half hour felt like an hour long to me. I mean, easily. There's nothing in this movie that I don't get it. Like, there's a couple parts where it's laugh out loud funny because how bad it is, but like I said, it's intermittent between just a bore fest of a film. It's so boring, and it's chocked full of characters that I don't give a shit about. Not a single character in this movie I'm like, oh, okay, I can get behind this person. I don't care. You got a whaleologist who's spitting out shit like she's a psychiatrist for the Orca. Like, how the hell do you know what this thing's thinking? And you got Richard Harris, who's basically just an asshole. He's a poacher for the most part. And it's just, it's so boring, and it's so bad. And the funny thing is, we always, because Jaws is, Jaws, it's one of the greatest of all time. And whenever the ripoffs are always brought up, usually Piranha's the first one that's brought up. And Orca's right up there usually, but I always forget about Orca. And you know what? I'm going to forget about Orca tomorrow. I'm going to forget I watched it. It's an ultimately forgettable movie. Like, this is not even a movie that could be enhanced with other substances, like sitting around with a bunch of buddies watching it. It would just be a fucking snooze fest.
Yeah, though, to be fair to Piranha, it's more of a parody than a ripoff necessarily. Which is
but that's always the one that's brought up.
Yeah. Versus this didn't even have the balls to be a parody. It is just a
piece of shit.
Yes, it's a whale trapped on an iceberg with nowhere to go. That's what it is. And on that note, that ends our sea creature double feature here for the evening. We have some feedback to read. We all asked you what your favorite and least favorite sea creature features were. And we do that over at the Facebook page and the Twitter page, which are at DEDBpod. If you reply to our posts where we do that, we'll most likely be on the show, just like these lovely people, including Nate Thomas, who says, The Abyss.
Yeah.
It's one that gets lost in the shuffle of the James Cameron filmography.
I agree, and I think The Abyss is a fantastic movie. I love The Abyss. But it's also full of actors I really like. I mean, the special effects at the time were cutting edge, which actually a lot of them still hold up. Mm-hmm. And another one, like you said, is just lost in the shuffle. I know plenty of people who love movies, and I'm like, and especially like sci-fi movies and things like that. I'm like, oh, The Abyss. They're like, I've never seen it.
Sort of treated as like it's the footnote of like this is where we first got the sort of liquid metal style technology that we would later sort of perfect with Terminator 2 with Jim Cameron's career. But yeah, it definitely deserves more love. Maybe more than another sea creature movie, Piranha 2: The Spawning for him, which was almost a movie we talked about. Might have been more interesting than Orca, though. Brian Kane has this to say, not really a sea monster movie, but I'm a big defender of Sphere. It had the look of a bad Stephen King TV movie, alongside a lackluster conclusion, but the sense of dread throughout is really solid, in my honest opinion. The giant squid scene comes to mind. Leviathan is pretty great. Alien with less mood lighting. Also, I'm sure there's worse, but not counting the several direct-to-video shark movies that have been coming out in the last 30 years, I'd nominate Deep Rising in the most soulless monster movie category.
Oh, Deep Rising. Is that the one with Treat Williams? Yeah, I think so. That's a bad movie. Sphere... No, that's when they're just trying to get anything Michael Crichton on film because Jurassic Park hit it big. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't really into Sphere, man. In fact, I don't think I've ever been into any of the Crichton movies except for Jurassic Park, for the most part. So, hey, Brian, thanks for writing in, but I disagree with you.
To be fair, I haven't seen any of these, so I can't really judge.
You never seen even Leviathan with Peter Weller?
I have not seen Leviathan, no.
That's actually, that's actually an alright one. It's an Alien ripoff, but it's an alright one.
Back pocket, I guess, guys.
Yeah.
Caitlin Kinkella has this to say, Ebera from Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster, both favorite and least favorite. I can see that. That's for those of you who don't remember, the giant lobster creature that Godzilla fights. And plays in one of my favorite bad but so good Godzilla scenes, where he plays essentially like rock volleyball with it.
Mm-hmm.
So funny.
I like Ebera. I don't think he'll be in the new movie, but
what? That's the secret one that they're gonna reveal for the third act.
Well, shit.
Looks like we've killed Ghidorah and Rodan and Mothra. Time to bring out the big guns with King
Ebera.
Caesar.
Yeah, King Caesar, Ebera, and the Smog Monster.
It's a tag team match. Louis A. Ramirez is to say, while I like Deep Rising as a campy and fun sea monster movie, I would have to pick The Host as one of the better sea monster movies of recent times. On the other side, the Korean horror Sector 7 fails to be original in that same concept. I love The Host.
Yeah, The Host is great. I've never seen Sector 7, but The Host is fantastic. It's one of the better monster movies of the last 20 years, easily.
Yeah, it's really the first one in a while since the original Godzilla to really build up that sort of sense of dread that comes with this monster and how it really impacts a society as a whole. A lot of the Godzilla movies that have come since then, especially the American one, try to kind of do that, and The Host, I think, accomplishes it so perfectly. Yeah,
I'd say that The Host kind of single-handedly almost brought back the kaiju genre, because it was really dormant for a long time, and The Host came out and it was huge. Well, especially over there, but here, I mean, it gained a lot of traction. It's a fantastic movie.
Yes, a really great one. Next is our last bit of feedback is from Jeffrey Goodrow, who has this to say, I'm excited to see The Meg, but this isn't really a horror sea monster movie. I think we're living in the world where CG is really killing the effect of real-life creatures, but that's just my opinion, I guess. Yeah, we're recording this before The Meg. We're releasing it, obviously, the week of The Meg coming out. My bigger thing with The Meg, watching the trailers and such, is just that it feels so tonally confused. I'm not sure what it's trying to be between a Jason Statham big-budget action movie, but also a Jaws ripoff, but also a comedy. Especially like so many bad comedic bits from
real jokey Rainn Wilson. Oh God,
I feel so sad seeing Rainn Wilson in that trailer because I'm like, you're such a good actor, and they're just the only roles he can get now are just subpar Dwight, and it's so sad.
Yep, I agree.
It's so sad to see you do that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm mildly curious for The Meg. I think if anything, it's just the fact that they got John Turteltaub of National Treasure to do it is more disappointing to me, as opposed to getting, somebody who would have a bit more fun with that concept, just kind of getting more of a studio churn out director. I think that's...
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But, man, if I don't admittingly love every time Jason Statham just says, "It's a megalodon." That's pretty funny to watch in trailers.
Yeah. Jason Statham saying anything above 3 syllables is fucking awesome. I love Jason Statham so much.
Well, oi, that's the end of the feedback. We really appreciate it. Seriously, thank you all for writing. We also want to thank a few other people. Thanks to Chris Oliver for the music that's used in our show. Listen to more of his music at chrisoliver.bandcamp.com. And also thanks to Emily Scarter for the art for our podcast. She accepts commissions at fiverr.com/EE-Scarta. And you can also find us on, as we mentioned, the Facebook and Twitter page at DEDBpod. Or you can email us feedback if you don't use the social medias at doubleedgeddoublebill@gmail.com. But if you do use the social medias, we also have individual accounts. We are at Not the Who's Tommy for myself and Adam.
At MalekithFan6969. All one fucking word, as it should be.
As the Lord intended it.
Right.
And please make sure to subscribe to us on iTunes, rate and review us to give the show more visibility. And we have some plans in store for iTunes reviews, so maybe catch a leg up. Catch a leg up. Give us one, we'll most likely read it on the show. But until next time, we have to go sail the seas. Cue the terrible song, Adam.
Oh, God.
Beautiful music. Good night, everybody.
Good night.